All right, so now we are at the collapse portion of the tutorial. And the thing you want to do before collapsing is you want to make sure your creases line up with what's on the crease pattern. So this one is a mountain valley crease pattern. So for the most part, you want to flip your creases so that they're the right direction. It just makes it a little easier to collapse. Now, big things like this, we're going to worry about these valleys in a little bit, but it's more like these smaller folds that are more important. So right now, this one is mountain for me, but it should be valley. So it's pretty easy just to reverse along the crease. And you don't have to do all of these because they'll kind of figure themselves out, but if you need to, it kind of helps go along with the collapse. But yeah, I'm just going to get into the collapse. That this is kind of the only important one to do that on. But let's get started. All right. So first thing we're going to start off with is a bit on the tail. So we're going to flip this over, and we're going to refold this mountain fold like this, and we're going to fold along our valleys here at the same time as this middle flap. So when we do that, as you can see, it kind of pushes our mountain fold over like this and to a little bit of a swivel fold. So I'll show this again. You've probably done this before in diagrams. It's not too difficult, but a little confusing to explain. Just make sure that's precise, just like that. So I'll show it with the other side again. So we start with our crease down like this, and the combination of these two swivel into place like this. Oh, messed up a little bit here. There we go. And so actually this kind of swivel fold we'll see a little bit later as well, but make sure you get your creases down. There you go. Cool. Now you're going to flip over back to the colored side, and we're going to fold this part in. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold the model in half like this, right? And we're going to mountain fold along this side. I'm just going to reverse down like that. And then now on the next line, you're going to reverse back up like that. And then along the last pre-crease we have, you're going to reverse fold back inside, and this will be a mountain styled reverse. Just like that. And make sure your tail doesn't get stuck. Awesome. So just like this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to treat this kind of like a water bomb base. So if you're familiar with that, it's one of the preliminary bases, but you're going to mountain fold along the other three diagonals like this, all at the same time. And it's going to fold forward like this. That way you have our tail in the back and then three flaps like that in the front. Just like that. All right, so now that we have our base like this, we're gonna do one more set of pre-creases, and it's gonna be on these outside flaps. So see, we have our point right here. We're just going to fold in half basically, so just like this, a line, and this is gonna help us out a little bit later. So just like that. And you're gonna do that on the other flap as well, but not the middle. Just like this. Unfold. And we're like this. Now we're going to work on the middle flap just slightly. So if you remember, we had our rabbit ear at the top. That's this guy. So you just want to fold in that rabbit ear like this. And you don't really have to worry about this part. Actually, yeah, let's do this part. So you're gonna valley fold up like that. So our rabbit ear sticks out, and we can make our base like this again. And we should actually be able to just open up a little bit. And we're going to do a couple more pre-creases. You don't have to open this all the way, just enough so you can fold here. But basically, we're going to want to take these corners, right, and fold up to the middle. It's like this. And you don't crease all the way, you just crease a little bit. Just a little bit right here. And this is gonna help us out a little bit later. Just up to the middle. Great. Now you're gonna reassemble our base structure like this. And we're going to get onto a little bit of a tricky section, so stay tuned. All right, so now we're back at here, and this part is going to cause the model not to lie flat because we're going to start collapsing the middle area. So if it's a little tricky, just be careful. But we're going to be folding along this line here with our whole flap like this. But when you notice, if you start to do this, the whole flap isn't going to want to fold, just this side. So what you have to do is at the top, you got to pinch the top because the top will be able to fold just like that. And it kind of creases right here, and you kind of get something a little like this, and that's okay. So you're going to do that on the other side as well. I kind of drew in the line so it's a little easier to see. You're going to fold up and crease right about there. So hopefully you can see that. And we kind of have ourselves a little strange thing like this. Cool, let's move on. Three, two, one, start. All right, so now we have our model like this, and we're going to remember a couple of mountain folds that we creased earlier. So we have this one, we have the one in the middle, we have the opposite side, and then we have these guys right here. So what I would do before we start collapsing this is make sure all those are mountain folds. So in case this one, say it turned into a valley for a little bit, just reverse to crease. And then I would also reverse to crease on these guys as they might still be mountain. And you're only going to turn it into a valley up to this point. And as you can see here, that's what happens. Just get it like that. And depending on the paper, this will help, or the paper will be good enough to do it on its own. But that'll just help us out a little bit. And if you notice that once you start having all the mountain folds along this kind of box area, like this, our model is going to start to collapse in. So it's going to look like this a little bit. And this is good. And we can actually push this guy all the way in, and it's going to use these other folds and come up like this. You see that? Now we don't want to forget about what we did here, so we're going to keep those guys as much as possible the same. So if it comes out a little bit like it did on mine, I just fold it back a little bit, and then I just pinch the top just to make sure it's still safe. And then we have this kind of weird stuff going on in the middle. And this is where this little diamond guy helps us out. All right, so we started getting these mountain folds going. We have kind of the horns starting to form. And now we need to deal with our diamond structure right here. So this part's a little bit tricky, but not too bad. But what we're gonna wanna do is, with this in place, you're just gonna push forward a little bit until it gets up to our about where our diamond starts, just like that, as you can see. And then what's gonna happen is we're going to kind of bend our diamond forward using those creases we had before. And then with that bent, we're gonna squish. So we're gonna squish forward at the same time. And the goal is that we bring this point up to this point here. So we're gonna squish forward, just like this. And as you can see, those about meet, and they should meet just about there. If you're a little off, don't worry. And if your diamond's getting all scrambled down here, you just gotta adjust it a little bit. But it'll be very similar to how we pre-creased it. So just try to get that structure to form, kind of like this. Kind of see it? And you should be able to close it up on this flap and hold it tight just like this. Right, that. And then to secure it, you can go underneath and kind of press down and lock that all into place. Just like that. Cool. And there you have that. And we'll get on to the next part. So you can probably already see it starting to come together, but this part is valid. This middle line you can see is valid, and then this diagonal is valid. And so when you fold those together, right, it's going to pull this crease across, and it's going to redo this crease, and it's going to give us this nice little triangle like that. And so same thing on the other side. Right, if yours doesn't look like this yet, it might still look like this. Everything like that or something. Make sure that this part gets valley folded. This part's still mountain. Fold up like this. And you get your little triangle like this. And that all comes together nicely. Like that. All right, so now we just have basically this section of the legs, and I'll show you why you didn't need to pre-crease those, because it'll be relatively simple. But yeah, let's get into it. So first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna look on this flap. And you're gonna remember that we did this mountain fold along here. So that's this one right here. So we're going to fold along that. We're gonna fold down, just like this. And as you can see, it gets up to this middle point. And what we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna follow this line all the way up to the corner here. So there's no real reference points besides the point and then what we already have. And you want to adjust it so that it can lie down flat again. So just about like this. And I know mine's not super precise right now, but you want yours to be precise. And it'll be around like this. If you were to calculate this, they'd be about thirds, but you don't have to do that. I'll show the other side as well. So you open up this a little bit, fold down on the crease that we already have, and then you match that crease to the opposite corner in a way that you can let it lie back flat again. So you might need to adjust it a little bit so it can lie flat, but just like that. Cool. Now the next step, we're going to stay on this side, is along this middle line, you're just going to fold this flap down. So if we're here, we're going to fold this flap like this and get a nice little crease in there. And from here, we're going to unfold it, and then we're going to squash fold. So you should be pretty familiar with this. It's just like squash folding a water bomb base, just like this. And then you're going to valley fold to this side, like that, the side of the head. And you're going to want to repeat that on the other side. So once again, to that middle line, you're going to mountain fold. Just like this. And then you're going to squash fold. Make mine a little bit more precise. Like this. And then you're going to valley fold along the middle line. Boom. Cool. Now on to the next step. All right. And so we're going to flip back to this side just so we kind of stay consistent. And you'll notice we have our pre-crease line right here. And that is this one. And if you notice, when you start to fold along that, it kind of looks like the swivel that we did on our tail. And that's because it is that same kind of swivel. So what you're gonna wanna do is you want to valley all the way up to this corner, and it's gonna start to pull this line to the side. And it's a swivel fold. And you kind of have that other line next to it for reference. It's not gonna be exact, or it might be exact depending on how precise you folded. And you'll fold just something like that. Just crease down. So you'll have to crease this mountain fold and this mountain fold to the side, but you have a lot of guidance to do that, so it's not too difficult. Same thing on this side. I'll show one more time. You want to valley fold this guy all the way up to the edge, and it's going to kind of spread squash / swivel fold down. And as you can see, I'm folding this in the air. This might be easier for you, or it might be easier to fold it on the table, or any kind of flat surface. Just like that. And you're good to go. Cool. Now we basically have one or two more steps and we'll be good to go. All right, so we're on the last couple steps for the base. And so the next step is this section of the crease pattern. And we're gonna wanna take a look at this intersection right here. And that's because it's going to have us make a mountain fold kind of along there that's parallel to the edge. And then it's gonna kind of be another swivel. So what we're going to do is we're gonna try to mountain fold along this edge that I did right here. This is definitely kind of a rat fold right about there. There's no exact reference points, just kind of some reference points. So use those I showed you, just right there and then parallel. And once we're here, we're actually just going to try to look at the angle of the final model and match the resulting creases to that. But another way you could do it is just by actually pulling the flap down until it hits the edge right there. So either one of those you can try, but that's kind of my advice. It's gonna not be super exact, but yeah, I'll show it one more time on this side. So we have a line right here, right? And then we have our intersecting point right there. And then we're gonna essentially draw or fold a parallel line kind of like that. So first we're gonna mountain fold like this. And then we're going to complete the reverse fold and have it line up kind of right along that edge. Awesome. So we're going to flip it back to this side, and the very last fold, there's a couple ways you could do it, but basically we're going to be folding this corner up against this line, and that's so that there's even flap distribution. So you can either, you know, kind of fold one way and then fold the other way. I kind of just like to reverse or mountain fold towards that flap. So it's a little bit weird because there's a lot of layers in the way, but something a little bit like this, right? and you get something like this. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. It's a simple mountain fold, like so. And here we are. And that is the base for the Wild Bull 2.0. And currently all parts of the creases on the crease pattern have been folded in crease. And I have another base right here, so you can kind of compare that to. But yeah, so that's it for the tutorial. And once again, I'd like to thank Kade-chan for giving me the opportunity to make this tutorial. Now, to go from here to here, that tutorial is going to be on his channel. So I'm going to have a link somewhere on screen or on the description that you guys can click and go over to his channel. But yeah, check it out. It's a super awesome design, and I'm sure you'll have a blast folding it. Great job for making it through. I know this was a little bit more difficult since we took the crease pattern approach. But if you made it through, great job. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.
All this origami, all this origami, all this origami got me going kamikaze now.